Hello friends, welcome to Dungeons & Dragonfly, where I adapt various characters for use in D&D. I'm Dragonfly9078, and today I'm building Magilou from Tales of Berseria. After the build, be sure to check out my channel to vote for the next one, and hey, maybe check out my Patreon too, if you want. So what do we want from this build? Well, we need to be a powerful witch, with access to water and fire spells, along with area of effect healing options. We also need to make a contract with Bien Phu, with or without his agreement. And finally, we'll need our signature ability, disrupting enemy spells to boost our own. Looking over at ability scores, I'll be using the standard point array. If you want to roll for stats, that's fine, just make sure your intelligence, wisdom, and charisma are high enough to multiclass. We'll dump strength. Magilou is pretty petite after all. Dexterity is 13, so we can do the sleight of hand that our role as a magician demands, but constitution will only be 10. Magilou definitely isn't a frontline fighter, we can let brutes like Velvet take care of that. We'll make intelligence 12. We need to give off the impression that we know more than everyone else, more so than actually knowing more than everyone else, and our 14 will go into wisdom. Magilou is somewhat older than she looks, and thinks more about philosophy and such than her outward appearance suggests. Then we'll finish off with a 15 in charisma, because she's just so darn likable, even if she is kind of a dick sometimes. Magilou is a human, as far as we can tell, so we'll just make her an average, everyday, non-variant human, boosting all her ability scores by 1. Then we'll take the entertainer background for proficiency and performance, but we'll switch out acrobatics for sleight of hand. That'll also give us disguise kit proficiency so we can change our costume if we need to. Or, just if we want to. Now, Magilou was trained as an exorcist, so she makes contracts with Malakim. That definitely makes her a warlock. And Malakim are described as nature spirits, so we'll go with the genie patron. Plus we want to get fire spells, so Ifrit it is. We get 2 skills from the Warlock list. I would say Arcana and Religion are probably the most appropriate for our Abbey training. As a Genie Warlock, we get a Genie's Vessel, a tiny object that we can vanish into for a number of hours equal to double our proficiency bonus once per day. That's not really something Magilou can do, but we can also use it as a spellcasting focus, so let's call that our Guardian, the little doll thing that she attacks with. One of the suggested options for the vessel is a hollow statuette, so I don't think that's too big of a stretch. We can also invoke the Genie's Wrath, as Bien Phu powers up our attacks. Once per turn, when we hit with an attack roll, we can deal additional damage with that attack equal to our proficiency bonus. The damage type is dependent on what kind of genie Bien Phu is. We set a Ifrit, so it's fire. For cantrips, Minor Illusion is always good for a magician, so the audience only sees what we want them to see. And Create Bonfire makes a 5-foot cube of flame that deals up to 4d8 fire damage to anyone who passes through it and fails a dexterity save. We'll take Protection from Evil and Good to reflect our Exorcist training, giving Fiends, Fae, Celestials, Aberrations, Elementals, and Undead disadvantage on attacks against us or another creature that we ward, as well as making the subject of the spell immune to being possessed, charmed, or frightened by those types of creatures. And we can't be a proper self-proclaimed witch without taking Witch Bolt, a ranged spell attack that deals 1d12 lightning damage on a hit, then keeps on crackling between us and the target, letting us use our action to just deal the damage again on each following turn until we drop concentration, we use our action to do something else, or the target is more than 30 feet away from us. Second level Warlocks get Eldritch Invocations, like Beguiling Influence, to get proficiency in Deception and Persuasion. And since we can just innately see the Malakim that are invisible to normal folks, we'll also pick up Eldritch Sight, so we can cast Detect Magic at will. We could take another first level spell here, but I would just want to retrain it later, so I'm not going to bother. For our Pact Boon at 3rd level, Magilou wears a skirt made entirely of books, so obviously the only logical option is Pact of the Chain, letting us cast Find Familiar as a ritual. Unlike the normal Find Familiar, we get a number of additional options for our familiar shape, so we can make Bien Phu a sprite, and when we take the attack action, we can give up one of our attacks to let him attack using his reaction. At this level we also have access to 2nd level spells, so we can grab Flock of Familiars too, to summon up to 2 more Norman in addition to Bien Phu. They stick around for up to an hour with our concentration. In that time, they can communicate telepathically and share their senses with us while within a mile, rather than the usual 100 feet that Find Familiar allows. And we can deliver touch spells through them as normal, though only through one familiar at a time. With our first ASI, we'll pick up the Performer feat, bumping our Charisma to 17, upgrading our Performance proficiency to an Expertise, and letting us distract people with our flamboyant showmanship. While performing, we can make a performance check against a humanoid's insight. If we succeed, they have disadvantage on perception and investigation checks until we finish performing. So if the guards are about to catch us out, we can put on an impromptu show so they don't look too closely. Plus we get to humiliate Velvet, which, always a plus. We get another cantrip here too. We already have a fire one, so how about a water one? Frostbite. We force a constitution save on a creature, dealing up to 4d6 cold damage and giving them disadvantage on their next weapon attack on a fail. But that's not all. We get another 2nd level spell as well. Spray of Cards sends a flurry of our guardians forth in a 15-foot cone, either blinding creatures for a turn if they fail a wisdom save, or dealing 2d10 force damage if they fail a dexterity save, half on a success. 5th level brings us a number of new toys. First, our 3rd Eldritch Invocation is Gift of the Ever-Living Ones. As long as Bienfu is within 100 feet of us, we count any dice rolled to heal us as if they'd rolled their maximum. And second, we get 3rd level spells. 2 of them actually, since we'll use the spare spell that we've had laying around since 2nd level. First up is Fireball from the Ifrit list, a classic 20-foot radius explosion that deals 8d6 fire damage on a failed dexterity save, half on a success. And our other will be Counterspell, for when enemy wizards are doing things and we don't want them to. We can use our reaction to cancel out a spell that an enemy is casting. We automatically cancel spells of 3rd level or lower, and for any spells higher than 3rd level, we have to make a Charisma check with a DC equal to 10 plus the spell's level. I do want to delve a bit deeper into our actual form of magical training now, so we'll hop over to Wizard for a bit, so we can actually use those books on our skirt, and we'll get Arcane Recovery, to let us regain expended spell slots on a short rest once per day, with total levels up to half of our Wizard level. We get 3 Wizard cantrips right off the bat. I'll say Ray of Frost and Firebolt for the attack roll counterparts of Frostbite and Create Bonfire respectively, then Prestidigitation to really take our magic show to the next level, with a bunch of minor miscellaneous magical effects. For our 6 first level spells at this level, Chromatic Orb lobs a ball of magic that deals 3d8 of our choice of damage types on a hit, Mage Armor makes us a little bit less squishy without the fuss of all that pesky armor by making our AC 13 plus our dexterity, and Expeditious Retreat lets us dash as a bonus action if a crowd happens to turn sour. Our previous Abbey training will help us identify magic items, and we can either float to safety on a Guardian with Featherfall, or throw a handful of them with Magic Missile, for 3 darts that never miss and deal 1d4 plus 1 force damage on a hit. Now, the Abbey trained us to be a soldier against the demon threat, so for our arcane tradition, I think war magic feels appropriate. We can use Arcane Deflection to keep ourselves from harm, adding 2 to our AC as a reaction to getting hit, or 4 to our saving throw as a reaction to failing a save, potentially turning that into a missed attack or passed save, though once we do so, we can only cast cantrips on our next turn. And the marvelous Magilou is renowned for her quick wit and witty quips, to the extent that we can add our wit to our initiative along with our dexterity, and insult people so hard that they lose focus with silvery barbs. As a reaction to a creature succeeding on an attack, ability check, or save, we can give them disadvantage on that roll, and give us, or another creature I suppose, advantage on our next attack, ability check, or save. We'll also branch out from our fire-water skill set with Gravity Mine, a 10-foot radius sphere of intense gravity that deals 2d8 force damage to, and halves the speed of, any creature in the area who fails a Constitution save, half damage and no slowdown on a success. Setting that momentary aberration aside, we'll return to form and grab Fire Mine as well, a 5-foot radius sphere of fire that we can move around and ram into people, dealing 2d6 fire damage on a failed dexterity save to anyone it hits, as well as to anyone who happens to be next to it at the end of their turn. We can also really stretch that whole pretending to know more than everyone else in the room thing with Borrowed Knowledge, which gives us proficiency in a skill we aren't proficient in for an hour. With our ASI at 4th level, we'll even out our Wisdom to 16 and Constitution to 12. We have a lot of odd numbers at the moment, and I don't like that very much. Mending is our cantrip here. It fixes small cracks or tears in an object, more convenient than learning how to sew. We could get more 2nd level spells here, but I actually want a couple of 1st level ones instead. Burning Hands and its colder variant, Frost Fingers. Both blast a 15-foot cone with their respective elements. Burning Hands dealing 3d6 fire damage on a failed dexterity save, Frost Fingers dealing 2d8 cold with a failed Constitution save. We get 3rd level spells at 5th level, and since we can use a Guardian like a Magic Carpet, Fly seems appropriate, giving us a 60-foot flying speed for up to 10 minutes. You know, it's kind of weird. That seems like a really staple wizard spell, but I feel like I really don't use it much in these builds. I guess most of the flying characters I make need to have more permanent flight, so I go with other things. And rewinding to 2nd level spells for a minute, we'll pick up Pyrotechnics, because all the best magic shows have fireworks, especially if we need to blind enemies for a round on a failed Constitution save. They can't see what we're doing if they can't see it all. 6th level War Mages get Power Surges. We can hold a number of surges up to our Intelligence modifier, and we can expend one when we deal damage with a wizard spell to deal additional force damage equal to half of our wizard level. We reset to 1 surge stored after a long rest, and if we don't have any left when we finish a short rest, we get 1 for free. Then we can build up our gauge by cancelling out other people's spells using Counterspell or Dispel Magic. Speaking of, we do already have Counterspell of course, so we'll pick up Dispel Magic at this level. It works just like Counterspell, except it affects magic that's already active on a target, not magic that is in the process of being cast. Then for the sake of completeness, we'll grab Remove Curse, so we can actually, exorcise things. Of course, after rejecting the exorcist ways, Magilou would embrace the ideals of chaos and freedom from the oppressive Abbey, which, if you think about it, is a very Druid thing to do. We'll round off our fire and water cantrips with Control Flames and Shape Water, a bunch of miscellaneous ways we can affect fire and water. We can grab any spells we like every day from the Druid list, so I'll just point out Cure Wounds and Healing Word, the two basic healing spells. One is a touch spell and heals a greater amount as an action, though we can also deliver it through our familiars for greater range. The other one heals less, but it's a bonus action and it works from a distance by itself. Those will get supercharged into our healing circle at 2nd level as we join the Circle of the Shepherd. We learn the speech of the woods, teaching us the Sylvan language and letting us communicate with beasts. But more importantly, once per rest, we can use our bonus action to summon a spirit totem to a space within 60 feet. The spirit sticks around for a full minute and radiates a 30-foot aura that provides an effect depending on what spirit we summon. There's 3 options. The only one we're really interested in is the unicorn spirit. We and our allies get advantage on checks we make to detect creatures that are in the aura, and whenever we cast a spell using a spell slot that heals any creature inside the aura or not, every creature of our choice that is inside the aura heals an amount equal to our druid level. So that's the healing circle covered, but we also need the fairy circle variant that hurts enemies in the circle in addition to healing our friends. For that, we'll pick up the 2nd level spell Wither and Bloom. Creatures of our choice in a 10-foot radius around a point we choose have to make a constitution save, or take 2d6 necrotic damage. Then, a creature in the area can roll one of its hit dice and heal that much plus our wisdom modifier. Since that's a spell using a spell slot that heals a creature, we can then trigger our unicorn spirit and heal all our friends equal to our druid level. There's also Hold Person, so we can get a good grip on an enemy who fails a wisdom save, paralyzing them and leaving them open to get pummeled. Round off intelligence and charisma to 14 and 18 respectively with the 4th level ASI, and take Druidcraft for our last cantrip. The effect I'm most interested in from Druidcraft is the Rain of Flower Petals to add a bit of flash to our performances, but the others can be useful too depending on your campaign. If you're adventuring in the Tomb of Annihilation, there's not much call to be predicting the weather. For 3rd level spells, Tidal Wave calls up a wall of water that crashes down in a 30-foot long, 10-foot wide area, dealing 4d8 bludgeoning damage to any creatures in the area who fail a dexterity save, along with knocking them prone. And when Velvet utterly fails to act like a proper dove, we can save the day with Conjure Animals, summoning 8 CR 1/4 or lower beasts. The closest stat block I could find to doves was crows, and they're CR 0, so this should work just fine. 6th level Shepherd Druids are mighty summoners, so any beasts or fae we summon with spells are slightly stronger. They get an extra 2 HP per hit die, and their weapons are considered magical to get past resistances. Worth noting, Bienfu is summoned by us casting Find Familiar, and he's a fae, so he does technically qualify for this. He only has 1 hit die of course, and he does pitiful damage, but it is still a thing that is true. It gets even more true with 4th level spells, giving us access to Conjure Woodland Beings, which works just like Conjure Animals, but we summon fae instead of beasts. We can call 1 CR2, 2 CR1s, 4 CR1/2s, or 8 CR1/4s. We're calling Bienfu a sprite, and those are CR1/4, so we can use this to summon up a whole swarm of Norman. We can also pick up Wall of Fire, a straight or ringed wall up to 20 feet high that radiates heat from one side, dealing 5d8 fire damage to any creature who stops within 10 feet of it. And we already have Fire Mine and Gravity Mine, so we'll finally pick up Water Mine, a 5-foot radius globe of water that doesn't deal any damage, but that can restrain creatures it runs into, trapping them under the water if they fail a strength save. We'll bump one of our stats by 2 with our last ASI. My pick is bumping our intelligence so it's even with our wisdom, making both 16, but I could see bumping wisdom to 18 or just capping off charisma instead. Any of those would be a good option. Our capstone here is the 9th level of Druid. We do get 5th level spells like Maelstrom, a 5-foot deep, 30-foot radius wide whirlpool that drags creatures towards the center, dealing 66 bludgeoning damage on a failed strength save, but more importantly, thanks to all of our multi-classing, we're effectively a 15th level caster, meaning we get 1 8th level spell slot. If we use that slot to cast Conjure Woodland Beings, then the number of fae we can summon triples, so we can call down a swarm of 24 Norman sprites to attack our enemies. We could even mix in a few pixies. They're also CR1/4, and though they don't have any attacks, they do have a number of very annoying spells like Sleep, Entangle, and Polymorph. It's not quite the full host of 49, but it's not bad. Now that the build is complete, the question becomes, how good is it? Well, our healing is really quite efficient, since we can heal everyone in a 30-foot radius for 9 HP with a single spell slot. Healing ourselves works particularly well thanks to our Gift of the Ever-Living Ones, maxing out our healing dice. So even just casting Cure Wounds on ourselves heals us for 11, and heals everyone in our Unicorn aura for an additional 9, possibly including us. That's not bad for a 1st level spell slot. We're also surprisingly good at espionage thanks to Bienfu and the other Norman. Sprites can turn invisible, so we can send Bienfu out to scout and have him report back, or use the increased vision sharing range on Flock of Familiars to look for ourselves. And that's not even touching on the fact that we can just vanish into our genie's vessel and have Bienfu or the other Norman carry us invisibly wherever we want to go. And finally, we have a huge variety of spells available, from annoyances and debuffs like Silvery Barbs and Blinding spells, to big AoEs like Tidal Wave and Maelstrom, to just straight up shutting enemies down with Counterspell. which I will also point out, we can do more than normal, thanks to our 3rd level Warlock slots refreshing on every rest. On the other hand, our healing is efficient for the cost, but it doesn't heal all that much in terms of actual numbers unless we really use our higher level slots. Spending a 1st level slot to heal ourselves for 20 is great, but if the enemy is hitting us for 40 each turn, we'll still die pretty quick. And that's assuming they don't just drop a power word kill on us, since we have a good chunk of wizard hit dice and not much constitution, meaning we're sitting somewhere around 110 HP depending on how you roll. And finally, having our Norman Legion come in and go on the offensive is pretty good, but they really don't do that much damage, and our healing basically doesn't even work on them since they tend to die in one hit anyway.
And you are?
Hooray! You asked! I'm thrilled to introduce to you the wise sorceress who travels the 11 seas, who scoffs at the might of dragons! None other than the acclaimed, the illustrious Magikazam Dindo Dino Larundu! Magilou for short.
Magilou?
No, Ma, like soggy shoe or doggy do, or call me any of those things and I'll turn you into a froggy stew!
Thank you for watching, friends. I hope you enjoyed the build. Head on over to my community tab if you want to vote for the next character for me to do. This week is between Makuta from Bionicle, Danny Ocean from Ocean's 11. Yes, again, apparently my random number generator just loves him. Then not one, but 2 Team Fortress characters, the Heavy, and our runner-up from last time, the Sniper. If you have any feedback or suggestions for characters you'd like to see me build, please leave them in the comments below, and they could show up in a future poll. Leave a like or subscribe if you want to see more, and if you want to support what I'm doing here, you can check the description for the link to my Patreon, for access to the Discord channel, early access to future builds, and exclusive Patreon content. Thanks again for watching. I will see y'all later.